Hello friends, welcome back to my YouTube channel and welcome to another Tumbler tutorial. In this video, we are going to be using the new Tumbler Rings from Craft Crate. Ashley sent a bunch of these to me and I was really excited to try them. It took me a while to figure out what I wanted to do, kind of what direction I wanted to take my design in, but I'm really happy with the final design and I hope you guys enjoy this tutorial. I'll have everything I'm using in the video, including of course the Tumbler Rings, linked in the description box below if you'd like to check them out and try them for yourself. This is definitely out of my comfort zone. I don't do a lot of like 3D type things, but I had a lot of fun with the challenge and I hope you guys enjoy the video. If you do, be sure to give it a big thumbs up down below. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you are not already, and let me know what you think down below in the comments. Okay, I think that's it. I hope you like it. Let's go! We're going to be using 3 of the Tumbler Rings today. We're using this pattern. I see it as a checkerboard, but you could also use it as like Jeep tires or whatever you want. And we're going to be using a 20-ounce skinny mug from Craft Haven. It's got the handle, which I thought would be nice when you've got this like 3D thing. You've got the handle to make it easier to hold. So to start, we're going to attach all 3 of our rings to each other. To do that, I'm using UV resin, and I've just got it on a popsicle stick, and I'm putting it on the top rim of one of the rings. I'm sorry this is kind of out of focus. My camera like did not know what to focus on. But basically, I'm just going to put a little bit of UV resin on, and then I'm going to attach 2 of the rings together, making sure that they're lined up. Because I want to do a checkerboard pattern, I want to make sure that the little like 3D spots are lined up in the right way so that it will look like a checkerboard. And then I just kind of flash cured it really quick. I cured it for like 30-ish seconds underneath my lamp. And now I'm going to go in with more UV resin and do the inside of the rings, like right on the seam. And you can see I'm just kind of brushing that on, and I'm going to cure that around the entire circumference of the rings for 2 minutes. Once I had 2 of the rings attached to each other, I did the exact same thing with the 3rd ring. I put a little bit of UV resin on the bottom rim and then attached the 3 rings to each other, flash cured really quick with my lamp, and then I did the inside of the rings to make sure that everything was attached, lined up, and totally straight. Then I cured that for 2 minutes, and now we are ready to start decorating. So like I said, I'm going with a checkerboard vibe here. I decided to go for like a nostalgic kind of 90s, 80s type look with this tumbler design. The monthly challenge in my mentorship group this last month was nostalgia, so I kind of took inspiration from that. If you guys didn't know, in my mentorship group, MBMM Elite, I do a challenge every single month. I give you guys parameters to create a tumbler design, and then the group picks a winner, and the winner gets a prize from me. I have a lot of fun in that group. We have a great time together. So if you would like to get in and join the Elite fam, you can go to madebymanianmal.com/MBMM So I took my Posca paint pen and just colored in each individual square, trying to stay within the lines the best I could. And let that dry for about like 45 minutes. And now I'm ready to apply it to my tumbler. To do that, I'm going to be using my Flynn Sisters Fast Cure Epoxy. And I base painted my cup. I don't know why I painted it pink because we're not using pink glitter. So please just ignore that I painted it pink. I wasn't using my brain. The vinyl we're going to use is pink, and I was like, oh, I'll paint the tumbler pink. But you can just ignore that it's pink because it really doesn't matter. Anyway, we are going to take the Fast Set epoxy, and I'm going to brush a little bit of it on the inside of the rings the same way I did with the UV resin, and then I put a little bit of the epoxy also on that bottom portion of the cup, and then I just slid the rings onto the tumbler, stopping at the handle. Now these rings are a little bit too big for the Craft Haven skinny size, so we had a little bit of space, not so much that it wouldn't work. I mean, it definitely worked out just fine, but they are a little big, so you just want to keep that in mind. When I put this on my turner to dry, I just let it lay horizontal, so I just had the handle up, let it sit and dry on my tumbler for, I think I left it for probably about 4 hours, And once it was dry, we were ready to move on to the next step. So I wouldn't recommend putting this upside down on your drying rack or anything. I would just leave it horizontal on your turner so that it can cure and dry and stay in the right place. So now moving on to the top half of the tumbler, I'm going to take some 1-inch painter's tape and I'm going to wrap that right around the middle of the cup. We're going to do kind of like a split design here, and I'm going to glitter this section later. So I'm just taping that off, trying to just work around the handle the best I can. And for the top part, we're going to use this super cute pink kind of retro vinyl. This is called 90's pink, and my friend Lacey designed this pattern, and ever since she designed it I have been dying to use it, so I just took this opportunity and had to. So we are going to wrap this on the top of our tumbler, and this is really going to bring the nostalgic throwback vibe to this cup. I love this vinyl so much. It's from my friend Wendy's new vinyl brand 311 Co. She's got this vinyl and she's got a matching element sheet, so I will link those down below so you can check them out. I also have a discount code if you would like to use that as well, and I'm just really excited for Wendy in this new adventure. She's awesome, so be sure to check them out. And yeah, anyway, we are going to wrap this vinyl around the top portion of our cup. I'm going to start by cutting my vinyl down to size, and then I'm going to cut back about 1 inch of the backing and then attach that right up against the handle. I put it a little bit close to the handle, so I had to cut around it, but that's okay. So once I've made sure everything is lined up, I'm going to remove that blue painter's tape just in case. I don't want to put my vinyl down over that tape. So I'm going to remove it, and now I'm going to smooth the vinyl onto my tumbler. So I'm going to lift up and push the vinyl on using my vinyl scraping tool. This has a felt edge. Be sure you always use the felt edge so you don't scratch or damage your pattern vinyl. And I'm just going to gently push the vinyl on, pushing the backing away as I go. Once I get to where the handle is coming up again, or once my vinyl wrap is almost done, I'm going to cut off the excess, and then I'm going to maneuver this around my handle. So I'm going to press it down right up against that handle, take my craft knife and cut one slit right on the top part of the handle, and then pull that vinyl around. And I was lucky enough that I could kind of MacGyver this so that it lined up perfectly with that little yellow squiggly. But anyway, for the inside of the handle, I'm going to cut another slit right on that inside portion. And then I'm going to just push that piece of vinyl right through the handle. So once I did that, I was like, oh, I can push this together and take this little yellow piece and make it look like one seamless thing. So that was really lucky because that never happens to me. And then I'm going to cut off the excess. I like to cut around the shapes and make it look as seamless as possible. You guys know how I do that. And now we're going to get rid of all the excess vinyl up at the top rim. I'm going to do the same thing I always do. So I'm going to pull that vinyl as tightly as I can up over the top rim and then cut off the excess, running my knife along the top rim of the cup, as you can see here. Then I'll go around again with my knife at about a 45-degree angle and just shave off all of that excess vinyl that's up over the top rim. Now that our vinyl is applied, we're going to take some blue painter's tape and tape off that top section of our cup so that we can paint and glitter our handle. I'm also going to paint and glitter the very bottom of our cup the same color that we do the handle. So I'm going to have to tape off this 3D section that we have. The reason I didn't glitter my cup beforehand was because I was a little worried that if I glittered my cup and then epoxied it until it was smooth, the rings wouldn't fit. So I wanted to make sure that I put the rings on first to make sure that they would fit, and then I just kind of worked around them and did my glittering. So to protect those tumbler rings from the spray paint overspray, I took some electrical tape and ran it along the top and bottom rims or edges of them. And I made sure that they were like stuck down super well, that no paint was going to get in there. I highly recommend using electrical tape for that. It will be a million times easier than painter's tape. And I spray painted all of those areas with Oasis Blue from Rust-Oleum. Let that paint dry for about 30 minutes, and now I'm going to apply my glitter. I'm using the epoxy method here, so I'm taking less than 1 milliliter of epoxy, and I'm going to spread a very thin and even layer along the handle, the middle section, and the bottom of our cup. And we're going to use 2 really pretty blue glitters from Peachy Olive Glitters. They're the same color but different cuts. So to start, we're going to take the mini chunky color, and this is Jack Dawson. I'm going to cover all of those areas with this, with like medium coverage, and then we'll go in with Bejeweled, which is the fine cut, and we're just going to go full heavy coverage with this and fill in any open areas. You don't have to use 2 glitters, you don't have to use 2 different cuts, you can go in with just one of them, but I really like the look and dimension of multiple cuts when you're glittering, so I always prefer to do a chunky and a fine, or multiple colors or something, just to add a lot of visual interest. Immediately after glittering, I'm going to go through and very carefully remove all of the tape from the entire body of my tumbler, and then I'm going to let my cup sit and dry for about 2 hours, and then I'll be ready to go in and seal everything. To seal, I'm using my favorite sealer. This is a 50-50 mix of water and the Crystalac glitter glue, and I'm just going to place that on all of our glittered areas, and I'm going to let that sit and dry overnight. You only need to let it dry for about 2 hours, but once it was dry, I added 2 thin coats of epoxy to my tumbler, and I just epoxied like normal. I didn't do anything special because of those tumbler rings. I just epoxied like normal, made sure that I didn't have too much epoxy on that bottom portion, but there was no like special epoxying process here. So after those coats of epoxy were cured, I went through and I did my first round of sanding. Now I kind of did things in a weird order here. I did a lot of sanding on the glitter areas and a little bit on the top portion of the cup. So I did all of that sanding, and then I washed my cup with my dish soap and water, and then I added my vinyl striping. I just added some silver textured metallic stripes to outline the glitter areas. And once those were applied, I went back and I sanded the checkerboard 3D rings. So I would recommend just sanding everything at one time. I don't know why I did it separately, but I would just sand everything at one time. So for these stripes, I cut them at 11.5 inches long, as always, by 0.08 inches wide. And I went back and forth on adding the stripe to this bottom section, or the bottom portion of the glitter area, and I couldn't really decide what I liked better, so I decided to add it and just try and stripe and finish everything out the same way I normally do, but you could go either way on the striping. So after those stripes were applied, like I said, I went in and did all of my sanding on my checkerboard section. Now, when I was sanding, I wanted to make sure that I got rid of any epoxy buildup that kind of got in that area, because now I'm going to go through and do my second coat of painting on the squares. I did 2 coats because the first coat, the epoxy kind of dulled the white up, and I really wanted it to be a very bright white and black checkerboard. So I did my sanding, cleaned my cup with rubbing alcohol, and then went through with that same Posca paint pen and did this entire process one more time. I let the paint dry for about an hour this time, and then I was ready to go in and add my final coats of epoxy. So for this first coat over the vinyl striping, I think I did about 20 milliliters. I'm keeping these coats really, really thin because I don't want to have any epoxy buildup anywhere. But as you can see, I'm just really epoxying like normal. There's no special process for those 3D rings. So after that, I added 2 more coats of epoxy, so 3 final coats technically until this was all done. But here is the final result. I had a lot of fun conceptualizing and designing this tumbler around these rings, and it was a lot of fun to make. So I really hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, be sure to give it a big thumbs up down below. Make sure you're subscribed to my channel so you don't miss any new videos. And of course, let me know what you think down below in the comments. Okay, thanks so much for watching. I will see you in the next one. Love you. Bye.